One of the most common questions that people ask me is, how do I get the people I love and care about to do carnivore? Oftentimes, when you experience what this diet does for your health and for your life, you will feel compelled to share it with others, with people you see struggling with their health, especially when it's health issues that you used to have that are now gone because of the carnivore diet. And you think, if only they would try this way of eating, it could change their life too. I get messages from people where they're the only one in their family eating this way, and they struggle seeing the health problems, disease, and hospital visits that result from the modern food that their loved ones are eating. I struggle with this too from time to time. A family member I love was recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and now takes medication for it. And I wish I could get through to this family member that this is a condition that is perpetuated by continuing to eat an amount of carbohydrates that the body cannot handle. Most people with type 2 diabetes can get off all the medication and put the disease into remission merely with a change in diet. That is so amazing. But this family member has years and years of exposure to the anti-meat propaganda that we are all surrounded by. And that propaganda is deeply ingrained. So I've thought about this issue a lot, this question of, how do I best share this information with people in my life? How much am I supposed to say to try to get them interested in doing their own personal experimentation with diet? And here's where I've landed. And I want to start by sharing a story that was the light bulb moment that cemented for me that this is the best way to handle this. I heard this story on the Pints with Aquinas podcast. There was a woman named Mother Natalia who was on a trip to the Holy Land. And before the trip, she was struggling with seeing a family member she loved battling some personal vices. And she wanted so badly to help her, but she didn't know how. And when she was out on a boat in the Sea of Galilee, she had a vision where she started to see waves. And she noticed that the waves were being caused by this struggling family member who was drowning. And her instinct was to help her. So she reached her hand out. The family member grabbed her hand, but then started to drag her under, and she began to drown too. She then called on Jesus for help, and Jesus told her, "You cannot save her by taking your gaze off of me. If you keep your gaze on me, then you'll walk on water. And it's seeing you walk on water that can save her." While this is a spiritual story that references the Apostle Peter walking on water in Matthew 14, I don't think you need to know that story to see the analogy here. I don't think there is a better analogy for how we can best inspire people we love to make changes. The best and most powerful thing we can do is live the life of health that allows us to walk on water. And that's all the telling you really need to do. Can you say more? Yes, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But let people see your health, your freedom, your energy, your peace. In this world, when you come across someone who truly glows with health and life and joy and freedom, it is noticeable because you don't see that very often. And the thing is, if the people around you don't notice you walking on water, then words probably won't do anything to change that. Spouting off information or citing studies when someone isn't asking for them rarely convinces anyone. It's witnessing the transformation with your own eyes, seeing someone glow with health and well-being. That is compelling because it cannot be faked, at least not in person. You can see when someone looks well and when someone looks unwell. It is so easy to get wrapped up in thinking, what is the best way I can tell people about this carnivore diet? What would be the most convincing thing to say to open this person's eyes? It's really easy to get in the weeds with these thoughts and wrangle with how much or how little to say. Over the past several years of doing this diet myself, there have been many times when I have talked about carnivore with people in moments where it felt right, and I try to do so as thoughtfully as possible, sharing the information, but not being overly pushy or overbearing about it, saying something brief and then letting them know that I'm here if they want to talk more about it. And for the most part, I have failed to sell a lot of my family and friends on it, or at least sell it enough that they have the conviction to give it a try. What I've learned is that you can't really change when someone is ready for something as dramatic as carnivore, given how most people eat today. So I always try to catch myself whenever I notice that I'm entering a mental place where you're attached to convincing someone of something. My opinion on this is to primarily focus on being an example of the change. Let your family see you making different food choices at parties. Let your coworkers see you order the steak at a restaurant with no sides. And if someone asks you about it, then that is the right time to talk about the diet. The best way to start is by sharing your personal experience, by sharing intimately about your life and what you've gone through. You could say, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease and I was told it was incurable, but then I started eating only meat and now it's completely gone. Anecdotes are extremely powerful. We can share our experiences openly and honestly when we're asked. And if the person asking seems interested, then you can start talking about the diet and the research behind it. If the conversation starts to fizzle and it seems like they've lost interest, that's okay. At the end of the day, convincing other people to do carnivore is not your job and is ultimately out of your control. Instead, you can focus on living a life of health where you walk on water and remain open to sharing your personal experience with others when they see that something different is going on in your life. Now, there is one big exception to all of this that I have to point out: parenting. While I don't think it's appropriate to try to change how other adults in your life are eating, when it comes to your children, it is your job to teach them how to eat. It is your job to guide them to make better food choices and educate them on the effects of eating different things. A lot of times children don't know that they feel sick after a birthday party because of the sugar. They need to be taught how to notice things like that. If you want to learn more on this topic, I have an ebook called How to Get Your Kids to Eat More Meat and Actually Like It that shares my process for getting your kids to voluntarily eat more meat and less junk food without feeling deprived or resentful. There's a link in the show notes, or you can go to www.theroadtocarnivore.com/kids.